Caitlin Clark came off the top of the key, spotting a screen being set, but she waved it off. She rejected it and darted straight into the path of J.J. Quinnerly, who was already locked in defensively. From that point, it was all physical. J.J. stuck to her like glue, bodying up, swiping, testing her balance at every step. But Clark didn't stop. She pushed hard into the lane, aiming the contact, trying to carve out space that just wasn't there. Quinnerly stayed glued, arms flailing, feet shuffling, hands constantly reaching. Then came the final blow. JJ went for the ball from behind, but ended up knocking Clark to the floor just as she rose up. The whistle came as Clark's body hit the hardwood. It wasn't a loud, dramatic fall, it was the kind that echoed. Her back smacked the floor, and for a moment the arena went quiet. And just like that, JJ Quinnerly sent Caitlin Clark to the ground. What happened next was telling. Clark stayed down momentarily, ponytail fanned out, eyes fixed on the ceiling lights. She wasn't injured, not really, but she was hit, and that was enough. She rolled to her side, stood up without a word, and walked to the line. Her face said it all, calm, focused, locked in. Whatever rhythm JJ thought she disrupted, Clark responded not just to the foul, but to the moment. And the response? It turned into a full story, worth breaking down quarter by quarter. The game opened with pace. Within seconds, Arike Ogunbowale took a defensive board and fired a perfect lead pass to Lee Ueru, who beat the Fever defense down the floor and finished easily. Indiana answered just as quickly. Boston drove inside with purpose, drawing defenders, and kicked it to Hull. Hull didn't hesitate. She swung it to Clark, already set beyond the arc. She launched. No rim, pure net. Dallas came right back with composure. Off a baseline inbound, Paige Buchers caught it at mid-post, squared up, and hit a smooth jumper. But Indiana had their rhythm. On the next possession, Clark read the defense perfectly. Waited for Mitchell to cut back door, then fired a laser bounce pass between two defenders. Easy finish. Moments later, she made another play. This time on defense, she jumped a passing lane, tipped it free, and sprinted coast to coast for the bucket. Clark's anticipation was everywhere. With 6.5 minutes left in the quarter, she rejected another screen and went full speed to the rim, only to get hammered. She hit the deck hard. Whistle. The crowd froze. Clark got up calmly and stepped to the line. 2 free throws, nothing but net. Quiet, effective, unfazed. Dallas leaned again on Buchers, who nailed a handoff triple after a clean screen from Ueru. But Indiana didn't blink. Clark and Boston connected at the top, quick give and go, and Clark fed Howard wide open under the basket for a lay-in. In the final minutes, Buchers went back to work. She rejected the screen, dragged in the help defender, and kicked it to Azia James in the corner. Splash. Next trip down, Buchers bumped her way into space and finished high off the glass. But Indiana had the final say. After a miss, Temi Fagbenle out-hustled the wings on the boards and powered in the putback, giving the Fever a 28-27 lead after 1. Second quarter opened with Ari McDonald isolated up top. There wasn't much space, but she didn't need much. A quick setup, confident step back, and the triple was down. That shot sparked momentum for Indiana. And again, Clark responded immediately. Next possession, she attacked with purpose, drawing multiple defenders before dishing a perfect bounce to Natasha Howard, who finished in rhythm. Dallas looked shaken. Clark wasn't just scoring, she was dissecting them. Then came one of the game's signature moments. J.J. Quinnerly, who had fouled Clark earlier, tried to attack her. But Clark was ready. She met J.J. at the rim and swatted the shot clean, sending the crowd into a frenzy. Before the reaction even settled, Clark had grabbed the ball and launched a full-court outlet. Sophie Cunningham caught it in stride and finished the break. With no resistance in sight, Indiana kept pressing. Clark and Boston worked a short roll action, and this time, Boston flared out just beyond the elbow. Clark hit her in stride, and Boston confidently drilled the 15-footer. Dallas looked a step slow. Even when they finally got a bucket, it was circumstantial. Clark had slipped and was momentarily out of the play, leaving Indiana defending 4-on-5. Quinnerly capitalized, dishing to Ueru for an easy lay-in. But that window closed quickly. The Fever pushed right back. Clark spotted Hull leaking out in transition, and with one bounce and a perfect pass, Hull caught it in rhythm and drilled the three. Dallas tried to regain momentum, and Buchers responded, running off an away screen to bury a triple. But it did little to slow Indiana down. On the next trip, Boston faked a handoff, turned the corner, and powered through contact for a strong finish. She stepped to the line and converted the and one. Clark wasn't done either. As the quarter ticked down, she created space with a slick step back, drilled the three with a hand in her face, and walked away like it was nothing. The Wings managed one last shot, Hines Allen driving and kicking it to Asia James in the corner, who knocked down the triple, but the damage was done. By halftime, Indiana was up by 22, and it wasn't just a lead, it was dominance. Caitlin Clark opened the third by flexing her entire offensive toolkit. Isolated on the wing, she backed her defender down, then stepped back into an 18-footer and splashed it like a warm-up drill. The Wings had no answer. Before Dallas could regroup, Clark had already fired a three-quarter court dart to Kelsey Mitchell, who caught it clean and finished at the rim. Indiana wasn't just playing fast, they were playing sharp. Dallas got one back by feeding Yaru in the post. She sealed off her defender, spun neatly, and laid it in off the glass. But every Dallas score felt like a brief pause in Indiana's rhythm. Clark and Boston went right back to their signature action. A clean screen and short roll left Boston wide open at the free throw line. Another mid-range jumper, another bucket. Then Mitchell ran the same play. A high screen, a quick rescreen, and Mitchell bounced it to Boston for another effortless 8-footer. That shot had become automatic. Dallas responded with a bit of chaos. Asia James found herself completely unguarded on the wing after the defense collapsed. Lou Lopez Seneschal zipped a pass her way, and James knocked down the open three. But then came the quarter's signature moment. Buchers had the ball on the wing, squared her defender, and pulled off a textbook rip-through, a move popularized by Dwayne Wade and Kevin Durant. No whistle, but it didn't matter. She absorbed the hit, hung in the air, and dropped in an unreal shot that left the crowd gasping. But Indiana didn't let the moment stick. Clark ran a screen and roll with Dantas, threading a pocket pass perfectly through traffic. Dantas handled it clean and finished a tough and one that fired up the Fever bench. Still, Buchers wouldn't back down. She attacked in transition, initiated contact on Cunningham, and finished the layup while drawing the foul. She went to the line and cashed in. Then, on Dallas's final possession of the quarter, Buchers isolated again. Triple threat stance, then two quick dribbles to her right, and leaned into a tough, contested jumper that splashed in. Even as Buchers caught fire, the Fever stayed in control. Indiana led 84-63 heading into the fourth. Dallas had moments, but the deficit kept growing. The final quarter opened with Indiana continuing their rhythm. Ari McDonald slashed into the paint and whipped a no-look dime to Natasha Howard, who finished with ease. It was sharp, quick, and reflective of the Fever's chemistry all game. But Dallas refused to roll over. Buchers broke through again, driving hard and spotting J.J. Quinterly sneaking behind the D. A slick bounce pass later, Quinterly laid it in. That gave Dallas a small spark. Buchers stayed aggressive, this time going straight at Howard, using the dribble to carve into the paint and drop in a soft floater before the help arrived. Indiana didn't flinch. Clark read the closeout perfectly, attacked the gap, and found Boston under the hoop for her 11th assist of the night. Every read, every pass felt deliberate. A few plays later, Clark showcased her vision again, sprinting in transition and tossing a full-court pass to Kelsey Mitchell, who caught it in stride and scored easily. Mitchell had been eating off Clark's playmaking all night, and she wasn't the only one. Next trip down, Clark took the screen, forced a collapse, and fired a hook pass between two defenders to Howard for a point-blank layup. The execution was masterful. Still, Buchers kept battling. She rejected a high screen with a smooth between-the-legs move and attacked the rim.